In the past couple of videos, I've been talking about how you can integrate RNS and RNS names within your applications to allow users to purchase names and extend leases and all those type of things. But what is RNS in the first place? RNS stands for Arrive Name System or Arrive Name Service, I think one of the two. And so the idea here is to have all those transactions IDs, right? Because by default, every data on Arrive is referenced by a transaction ID, which is, I think, 3 characters long. And these are not easy to remember. So there is the Arrive name system that offers friendly names to allow you to assign that transaction ID to a friendly name. And this friendly name can be resolved by all the gateways in the RIO network. So the way it happens is if you do, for example, let's say, for example, there is Murdy Kim, right? And that's my RNS name. So whenever I'm trying to do RNS name, I have to resolve this name as a subdomain of any gateways, right? And we have close to 700 gateways at this point. So what happens is, let's say, for example, let me just add here a couple of gateways, right? So I'm just going to say here there are 3 gateways, and maybe this is ar.io. We have here something like arrive.net. And then lastly, we can have something like, I don't know, defi.ao, right? So these are 3 gateways. So if I'm trying to resolve this name here, I can just do something like, I can resolve it as an under name here, right, of RIO. And this is going to become murraykim.ar.io, right? Or if you resolve to n, it's going to become, um, it's going to become it's going to become a subdomain of that domain name, right? Just that way. So what happens here is there is now on this other side, the RIO process, right? That has a registry for all the names. So what happens is this gateway that I select will go and ask this RIO process, right? For the current state of this name, if the name exists, and what does that name point to. So for example, if this name points to something like this, right? Let's say this is a transaction and it has to be, I think, 43 characters, but I'll keep it this way. So now if my name points to this transaction here, what will happen behind the scenes is the gateway will now fetch the data that is on this transaction and display that data to me here. In my case here, in the case of Murdy Kim, as an RNS, it's going to display the blog. So to show you, if I do murdykim.ar.io, right, the request gets made and then the data is being fetched from Arrive, right? And so the data that is being fetched is the data associated to Murdy Kim in this case, right? So you can see the process. As I do murdykim.ar.io, it goes to this gateway. This gateway fetches the information from the RIO process, and the information that is being fetched is the information about this RNS name, because there is an RNS registry inside of this process. And so that RNS registry under this name points to some data that is on Arrive, so that that data gets resolved and showed to me back here, for example, in my browser where I've requested for it. And I think that's the high level of how things work. There might be some other things like caching and all that I'm not going to cover. I just wanted to cover the high level stuff of how RNS name resolution works. So each gateway actually works as a name resolver for the RNS name, right? So you can see a little bit of how things work behind the scene to get to have these friendly names attached to these transactions ID and how they get resolved.